times 1 will give you 6 and 3 times 2 will give you 6. So when you look carefully, the choice is 3 and 2. So it's x plus 3, x plus 2. You test this out, you're doing products, and you will get that answer, x squared plus 5x plus 6. 5.3. X squared minus 5x plus 6. Right, so we're going to do this a bit slowly to see how you get the answer. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just pull off here. So, you had x and x for that. Now you got a minus here. That means, what times what will give me 6? Well, 6 times 1 will give me 6. 3 times 2 will give me 6. Minus 6 and minus 1 will give me 6. And minus 3 and minus 2 will also give me 6. You see, when I multiply them, 6 times 1 will give me 6. 3 times 2 will give me 6. Minus 6 and minus 1 will give me plus 6. Minus 3 times minus 2 will give me plus 6. So I've got many choices. But I'm looking for minus 5. So if you look carefully there, which combination is going to give you minus 5 when you add it? Well, if I add it, that's the one who will give me minus 5 when I add them. So, it's x minus 3 into x minus 2. Right, 5.4. X squared minus 7x minus 6. Once again, you saw x and x. Now minus 6. Right. Well, minus 6 times 1 can give you minus 6. Sorry, what number are we doing? 5.4. It's x squared minus 7x plus 6. Sorry, it is plus 6. Right. So what times what will give you plus 6? Well, plus 6 and 1, 3 and 2, minus 6 and minus 1, minus 3 and minus 2. Well, you see, it's the same numbers, but this time in the middle it's different. You see, there it was minus 5, here it is minus 7. So this time you can see the choice is not minus 3 and 2, this time the choice is 6 and minus 1. 6 and minus 1. So, the answer would be x minus 6 and minus 1, because I was looking for minus 7 this time. So I won't take that, because if I add that I get minus 5. If I add this, I get minus 7. 5.5. X squared minus 5x minus 6. Right, so there's your x and there's your x. Now you got minus 6 here. So if you got minus 6, it means it's minus 6 and 1, or 6 and minus 1, minus 3 and 2, or 3 and minus 2. Any one of these multiplied gives me minus 6. Now, I'm looking for minus 5. Which two numbers added there, which two added will give me minus 5? Clearly, it's that one. So this answer is x minus 6 into x plus 1. When you do products on this, you'll see you will get that answer. Alright, so that's how we do it, and we've got a few more to do, so I will give you the rest just now. Alright, so once again, well, we know there will be two brackets, but now we're going to do the working on the side. So there's x and x. Now you got minus 6. So you got minus 6 and 1, 6 and minus 1. You got minus 3 and 2. You got 3 and minus 2. You're looking for a minus 1. You see, no 1 is written here, but it's understood. So you're looking for minus 1. So which combination from there is going to give us minus 1? If I add this two, I get minus 5. This gives me plus 5. This gives me minus 1. Oh, so it's this one. So it's x minus 3 into x plus 2. 5.7 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. Now just to make our life easy, I'll just write the answer in the bottom. Now this time I got 2x squared, so I will write 2x and x here. Right. And now we got 12, so we can write down all the possibilities for 12. So it can be 12 times 1, it can be 6 times 2, it can be 4 times 3. Everything is plus here, so I don't have to worry about any minus signs. Now I've got to choose wisely. So there's 2x and there's x. Now in this example here, now it goes for feelings. You just got to think which one might give us the right answer. So in case we get the feeling that 4 and 3 giving us the right answer, we'll just take 4 and 3 and try it. Multiply 2 3s, 6x. Multiply 4x. Add it up, 10x. And the answer is wrong because we're looking for 11x, but we're getting 10x. Then what you must do, take the same one, leave the 2x and the x there. See this 4 and 3, you put the 3 on the top, put the 4 in the bottom now. And then try it. X times 3, 3x. 2x times 4, 8x. Add it up, 11x. And voila, we got what we wanted. We wanted 11x, we've got it. So be careful now. The top two will go in one bracket and the bottom two will go in one bracket. So what's the top two? The top two is 2x plus 3. What's the bottom two? X plus 4. Right, and now we do 5.8. 5.8, you got 6x squared plus 23x plus 21. Well, I'm just going to give you the final answer now because you need to crack this somehow. Alright, and then, alright, let's just clean up the board there on the side to get some space to do some rough work. So I'm going to clean that up now. Right, so. Okay, now, you see, you got 6x here and you got 21 there. So, say for the 6x, you say, well, I can have 6x and x, or I can have 3x and 2x. I got two choices. And then for 21, I got 21 and 1, or 7 and 3. Right? Now you're looking for 23. You're looking for 23. So you have a good look. You look at this and you look at that. You look at this and you look at that. And you just work on your feeling and you just say yourself, right, which one I think will give me the right answer. Well, suppose we said, I think this one will give us the right answer. Then you say, right, there's 3x, there's 2x. And suppose you said, well, I think this one. But if you put 21 and 1 here, you'll see now, you've got problems. 2 times 21, 42. 3 times 1, 3. Add it up, 45x. So if you choose that one, it's going too big. That means I must choose the other one. I must choose 7 and 3. So I've chosen the wrong one. So it's a trial and error thing. So I'll do the working here now. So I'll take 3x and I'll take 2x. And I'll choose this one now. 7 and 3. And let's see what happens this time. 2 7s, 14x. 3 times 3, 9x. Add it up, 23x. And we are happy, we got what we want. The top two goes in one bracket, bottom two in one bracket. 3x plus 7 into 2x plus 3. Now be careful, my writing is a bit untidy here. These are the brackets now, this is not x's. Right, that's better. Right, so that's how we get 5.8. Alright, And then we've got the one last one, 5.9. Right, so I'm just going to let the DVD roll a little bit so that you can see the working over there. And then I will do 5.9 for you. Alright. Okay, I think we will remove all this from the board now and we'll do. Alright, now when we look at this example, first we're looking here. We're looking at x squared. And then we're saying, well, it's x times x. Then second we're looking here. Now when we're looking here, it's got 10y squared. That means it is 10y times 1y or 5y times 2y. So that you can get 10y squared. Right? I don't have to worry about negatives because no negative sign here. Now, so I looked here and I looked there, I did that and I did that. Right? I don't need this anymore. Right. Now what am I looking for? I'm looking for 7. So which combination from there is going to give me 7? Well, it's quite clear that it's 5 and 2. Right? So, there's your x and there's your x. Right? And then you got what? 5y here and you got plus 2y there. And if you do products on this, you'll see that this will give you that. Alright? And you must do products in your own time and make sure that these answers are right. I'm just going to do this one just to show you. See, x times x will give you x squared. 5y times x will give you 5yx. Or the same thing is 5x1. And then x times 2y will give you 2xy. See, x times 2y will give you 2xy. And when you add that up, you get 7xy. So you got the middle term. X times x gives you x squared. And 5y times 2y gives you 10y squared. Right? So you got to test it out like that. You got to multiply. X times x gives you x squared. 5yx plus 2yx gives you 7xy or 7yx. It's the same thing. And then 5y times 2y gives you 10y squared. Alright, so that brings us to the end of factorization. And of course these are the basics. And now what you need to do after this is to do a mixed exercise. In a mixed exercise, you will have all the different types mixed up and you must be able to work out each example. Right. Right. Now before you do a mixed exercise, what you have to do is you have to do a summary on factorization. You must have a summary like this. So there are different types of factorization, right? Number one, there's removal of common. You got about 5 different types. Then you got difference of 2 squares. Then you got difference of 2 cubes. Then you got sum of 2 cubes. Right? I'm going to come back to the summary. We'll stop there. And I'll complete the rest of the summary just now. Alright, and number 5 is the quadratic trinomial. So you got 5 different types that will be mixed in one exercise. So that's the first thing. You got to have a summary like this, and when you're doing the examples in a mixed exercise, you'll have to keep asking yourself, is it like number 1 or number 2 or number 3 or number 4 or number 5? In every example in a mixed exercise, first thing you must look for is a common factor. First thing you must look for is a common factor. And then secondly, you must factorize and try to factorize again. You must factorize and try to factorize again. Alright, so you've got your summary, keep it next to you, and then look at the mixed exercise and try it. Alright, now I'm not going to give you the answers for these. I want you to try them, but I'm going to give you tips. If you look at 6.1, firstly it's got a common factor. Then after that it'll be a difference of 2 squares. 6.2, it's got a common factor. 6.3, it's got a common factor inverse type. 6.4, in 6.4 it is far better for you to take out minus 2 as a common factor. After you do that, you'll have a difference of 2 squares. 6.5 is a difference of 2 squares. 6.6, you got to first find a common factor. 6.6, first remove a common factor, and then you'll have difference of 2 squares. 6.7, first remove a common factor, then you'll have difference of 2 squares. 6.8 and 6.9 are quadratic trinomials. 6.10, 6.11, 6.12, 6.11 is a sum of 2 cubes. 6.12 is a difference of 2 cubes. 6.13, you must remove a common factor. After that you'll be left with a quadratic trinomial, and I'm just tipping you off that the quadratic trinomial will not factorize. 6.14, remove common factor, and then you'll get a quadratic trinomial that can factorize. 6.15, remove common factor, then you'll have difference of 2 cubes. 6.16, look very carefully. You must first factorize the difference of 2 squares, and then after that you will be able to see a common factor. Well, try it, see how you're doing, and then we will come back to it and help you to mark it. Alright. Right. This DVD will end here, but the answers to this will be found on the next DVD. Alright, so try the mixed exercise, and then on the next DVD we'll supply you the answers. Now the last statement I made was that we'll put the solutions on another CD, but I've changed my mind and we're going to put the solutions onto the same CD. So now before you work out the mixed exercise, you've got to remember to go through your summary and go step by step with the summary. So when you're doing any example in the mixed exercise, go through the summary, go step by step. Alright, so let's move on and let's try and work the solutions out. So here we have 6.1. Alright, so when we look at 6.1, the first thing we've got to look for is a common factor. So when we study it carefully, we find that 3 is a common factor. So we write down the common factor 3, and then we divide 3m squared by 3, and we're left with m squared. We divide minus 27 by 3, and we're left with minus 9. And then we look at our answer, and we find that inside the bracket we got a difference of 2 squares. So we have to factorize inside the bracket now. So you bring down the 3 like that, and for the difference of 2 squares Square root of m squared, m. Square root of 9, 3. One bracket will be plus, and the next bracket will be minus. Alright, let's move on to 6.2. 6.2, a into x minus 5 minus b into x minus 5. So when we study this example, we'll find that x minus 5 is the common factor. So we write x minus 5 down once, and then we divide that by x minus 5, and we're left with a. We divide that by the common factor, and we're left with minus b. Let's do 6.3. We got 5 into x minus 2 plus y into 2 minus x. So you have a good look at this and you realize that it's a case of inverses. Because here you got x minus 2 and here you got 2 minus x. So leave the first part just like that, 5 into x minus 2. Now start with the bracket. Change the order in the bracket. 2 minus x will become x minus 2. Just change the order there. And the plus y now becomes the opposite, which is minus y. Now after making these two changes, we look again. We've got x minus 2, we've got x minus 2, therefore the common factor is x minus 2, and after division you're left with 5, after division you're left with minus y. So those are your answers for 6.1, 6.2, 6.3. Alright, we're at 6.4. So if you look at this example, you may get the feeling that 2 is a common factor. This example can be done in two different ways. Let's say you felt 2 is a common factor. Then you wrote down 2 here. Then you did your division and you'll be left with minus x squared plus 1. And then when you look at that carefully, when you look at that, you'll say, well, I can rearrange this. I'll just write the 1 in the front and write the minus x squared in the back. I'm just rearranging those terms. I'm not changing anything. And then after you rearrange it, you can see clearly it's a difference of 2 squares. And therefore it will be 1 plus x into 1 minus x. The square root of 1 is 1. The square root of x squared is x. One bracket will be plus, one bracket will be minus. But this example could have also been done differently. If I restart that example differently, 2x squared plus 2, and suppose I decided to take out a common factor minus 2. It's my right. I can do what I like. I can take out 2, or another student will take out minus 2. Now if you take out minus 2 as a common factor, then when you divide here by minus 2, you'll be left with x squared, because minus divided by the minus gives you plus. And then plus 2 divided by minus 2 will give you minus 1. And so there's your minus 2. And now once again, inside the bracket, you have a difference of 2 squares. So this is x plus 1. Square root of x squared, x. Square root of 1 is 1. One bracket will be plus, and the other bracket will be minus. So that's the answer for 6.4. Let's move on to 6.5. Now when you look at 6.5, you've got 4x squared minus 25. It's clearly, this is a perfect square, perfect square, perfect square, so it's a difference of two squares. Just open two brackets. Square root of 4x squared is 2x. Or if you like, you can say square root of 4, 2. Square root of x squared, x. Square root of 25, 5. One bracket will be plus. The next bracket will be the same thing with a minus sign. Alright, we're at 6.6 and 16m4 is a perfect square, 100n4 is a perfect square, and there's a minus sign, so this is a difference of two squares. Square root of 16, 4. Square root of m to the 4 will be m to the 2. Square root of 100 is 10. Square root of n to the 4, n squared. One bracket will be plus, and the next bracket will be minus. Now, remember you must factorize and then look at the answer again, because you may be able to factorize again. But when we look at the second bracket, it's not a difference of two squares because the 10 is not a perfect square, so this cannot be factorized anymore. We have to stop here. So that is the answer for 6.6. Move on to 6.4, 6.7, sorry. 24x squared minus 150. Golden rule, make sure or look for a common factor. So when we look here, we'll find that there's a common factor 6. 6 is the highest common factor here. 6 will divide here and there. So there's your 6. And 6 divides into 24x squared. Well, 24 divided by 6 is 4. So you get 4x squared. Minus 150 divided by 6 gives you minus 25. Now, when you look at the second bracket, it is a difference of two squares and it must be factorized again. Bring down your 6. Square root of 4x squared is 2x. Square root of 25 is 5. One bracket will be plus, and the next bracket will be minus. That's the answer for 6.7. Let's move on to 6.8. X squared minus 24x minus 25. Right. So this is the trinomial. See, you have a good look at it. There's no common factor. And you've got x squared, and then you've got x, and then you've got a number. So it's a trinomial. So you have to look at x squared and write down x and x. Then you look at minus 25 and write down the factors of minus 25, which happens to be minus 25 times 1, or 25 times minus 1, or 5 times minus 5. So those are the options. Alright, so now you're looking at minus 24. You're looking here. You're looking here. Looking at the minus 24, and you're asking yourself which combination here will give you minus 24. And then you realize, well, it's going to be minus 25 and 1. So there's your x, and there's your x, and there's your minus 25, and there's your 1. And when you multiply, x times minus 25 will give you minus 25x. X times 1 will give you x. And when you add these up, you get minus 24, and that's your middle term. You are looking for minus 24. So that's the right combination. So what happens is this top 2 here goes in one bracket and the bottom 2 goes in another bracket. So your first bracket will be x minus 25. Oh, wait, let's write that in black. So your first bracket will be x minus 25, and your next bracket will be x plus 1. Now when it comes to trinomials, it's very important to test the answer. X times x gives you x squared. Yes. Minus 25 times x gives you minus 25x. X times 1 gives you plus x. Minus 25 times x gives you minus 25x. Add it up, you're getting minus 24x. So we tested that, you tested that. So it's very important to test like that, and then you can always, well, your test, you can always do this on one side. We finish test that, and the final test, 25 times minus 1 is minus 25. So that's your answer for 6.8. Alright, we're going to do the answer for 6.9 now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to write the answer just below it. So I'm going to write it here. I look at the example. There is no common factor. It is a quadratic trinomial. So I will have to factorize it. So I'm going to write the answer here. I know there's going to be 2 brackets in the end. Now what do? I take x squared and I write down the factors of x squared. X times x gives me x squared. Then I've got plus 10. By the way, everything is plus in this example. Therefore, you don't have to think of any negatives. If everything is positive, then you don't have to think of any negatives, only positives. So, what are the factors of 10? Well, it could be 10 and 1, or 5 and 2. That will give me 10. Oh, I'm sorry. There's supposed to be a 2 here in this question. There's a 2 here. Sorry, there's a 2 here. So, this is 2x. Right, let's check. You got 2x squared here. 2x times x gives you 2x squared. Then you got 10 here. 10 times 1 will give you 10. Or 5 times 2 will give you 10. Now, once we've done that, we are looking in the middle now. We're looking for plus 9. So, which combination there will give us plus 9? Now, you see, I wrote 5 and 2, but another student might write 2 and 5 like that, right? So, we don't know what you did. Maybe you write 5 and 2, or you may write 2 and 5. Now, let's suppose a student felt that the answer is 2x and x and 10 and 1. He felt that these were the factors. Then he'll test it, or she will test it. That will give you 10x. 2x times 1 will give you 2x. Add them up, you get 12x. Then when you compare 12x to 9x, you realize this is wrong. Now when that is wrong, don't go and start a new trial. The best thing is to go back here. You had 10 on top. You had 10 on top and 1 down. Now make it 1 on top and 10 down and test. Well, 2 times 10 will give you 20x. 1 times 10 gives you 1x. Add them up, you get 21x. So you know that that one is wrong and this one is wrong. So both these choices were wrong. So I've got to make another choice. So in trinomials, you will have to make choices, and it doesn't mean that your first choice will be right. Your first choice might be wrong, your second choice might be wrong, and only your third or fourth choice might be right. So now we have to make a new choice. Now let's say this time we're choosing 2x and x, and we're choosing 5 and 2. And then we multiply, that gives us 5x, multiply here, that gives us 4x, we add them up, we get 9x, and we are very happy now because now we found the middle term. So what happens? The top two will go in one bracket and the bottom two will go in another bracket. So if you take the top two, you'll get, let's write it in black, you'll get 2x plus 5. Now remember, the plus sign is understood here. We're not writing the plus sign because plus is understood. So it's 2x plus 5 into x plus 2. Now I'm going to take this example to explain another golden rule in trinomials. You see, we call this a horizontal row. Horizontal row. So, when you're choosing factors, your horizontal row must never have common factors in it. So if you see this row here, this is 2 and that's 5. It does not have a common factor. So the horizontal row must never contain a common factor. It's a very useful statement and it helps you to get the combinations quickly, you see. So, if you look at this horizontal row, you got 2 and you got 5, it's got no common factors. If you look at this horizontal row, you got 1 and you got 2, it's got no common factors. So the horizontal row must never contain a common factor. Right, that's just a little bit of a good tip for you to know. Right, let's move on to 6.10. Right, 6.10, x cubed minus 27. X cubed is a perfect cube, 27 is a perfect cube. This is the difference of two cubes. Therefore you follow the steps, one small bracket and one larger bracket. Cube root of x cubed, x. Cube root of 27, 3. Because there's a minus sign here, the first bracket will have a minus sign. If there's minus here, there'll be a minus there. Right. Now, for the second bracket, you must look at the first bracket. You take this x and you square it, there's x squared. Then you take these 2 and multiply it, you get minus 3x. But you write it here with the opposite sign, so it's plus 3x. I'll repeat that. You take this 2 and you multiply it, you get minus 3x. Then you write it here with the opposite sign, therefore it will be plus 3x. And finally, you take minus 3 and square it, you get plus 9. Because minus 3 squared means minus 3 times minus 3, which gives you plus 9. Alright, let's move on to 6.11. M cubed plus 8. This is a perfect cube. 8 is a perfect cube. Therefore, one small bracket and one larger bracket. Cube root of m cubed, m. Cube root of 8, 2. Because this is plus, the first bracket will be plus. Now for the second bracket, get your answers from the first bracket. Take the m and square it, that becomes m squared. Now multiply this 2, it's plus 2m, but you write it here with the opposite sign, so it will be minus 2m, and finally square plus 2, which gives you plus 4. Right, let's move on to 6.12. 27m cubed minus 8x cubed. Well, that's a perfect cube, and there's a minus sign. Therefore, it's a difference of two cubes. Cube root of 27, 3. Cube root of m cubed, m. Cube root of 8, 2. Cube root of x cubed, x. Because this is minus, that will be minus. Now, in the second bracket, you get your answers from the first bracket. Square 3m. See, you're squaring 3m, so 3m going to be squared. You're going to end up with 9m squared. Remember, the 3 gets squared and the m gets squared. So it is 9m squared. Then multiply these two, you'll get minus 6mx. Change the sign, it will become plus 6mx. And finally, you're going to square minus 2. You're squaring minus 2x. So if you square minus 2x, it's minus 2 squared, which means minus 2 times minus 2, 4x squared. So you get plus 4x squared. Right, 6.12. Right, let's do 6.13 here. We have some space. X cubed minus x squared minus x. Let me write the answer below it. So when we look at this example over here, we can see clearly that we have a common factor x, and we're dealing with powers, therefore must choose the lowest power, which happens to be x to the 1. Divide x cubed by x to the 1. See, you're dividing x cubed by x to the 1. You're left with x squared. See, write down the common base, subtract the indices. 3 minus 1 gives you 2. Then you got minus x squared divided by x. Well, a minus divided by plus is a minus. Write down the common base, subtract the indices. 2 minus 1 is 1. And finally, x divided by x is 1. Or be careful now, it's minus x. So minus x, firstly, minus divided by plus is minus. Be careful now. Be careful. Minus divided by plus. You see the plus is understood, you see, but I can just write it for you now. Minus divided by plus is minus. X divides into x one time. So the final answer here is minus 1. Right, that's the answer for 6.13. Right, what I'm doing now, I'm coming back to 6.13. I'm coming back to it. You see, the question was x cubed minus x squared minus x. Then you found a common factor x. And your answer was x squared minus x minus 1. So this is now a trinomial. Now the second part is a trinomial. But actually this trinomial does not factorize. So a little later I'm going to show you how to determine it will not factorize. For now, just if you try to factorize this, no matter how much you try, you're not going to get the answer. You see? So what we will do is a little later on we'll show you how to work out whether a trinomial factorizes or doesn't factorize. So this trinomial does not factorize, and that is why we stop here. Alright, now we'll move on to 6.14. Now let's see, what is 6.14? It is 2x squared minus 10x minus 12. So, when you study the example, the golden rule, check that for common factor. Clearly there's a common factor 2 here. There's your 2. So 2, if you divide 2x squared, you're left with x squared. Divide that by 2, you're left with minus 5x. Divide that by 2, you're left with minus 6. And then when you look at this trinomial, see that trinomial will not factorize. Later on I'll show you how you come to know. For the moment you will keep trying and you'll see that you can't find the factors. But I'll show you a way how to work it out later. Now if you take this one, it's going to factorize because we're going to try it and you'll see it will factorize. So you write down x and x. Then you got minus 6, which means you got minus 6. Let's say you got plus 6 and minus 1. Let's say you got minus 6 and 1. You can have minus 3 and 2. You can have 3 and minus 2. You have a lot of choices. All those give me minus 6. So you have to make the right choice. Let's say I chose the first two. Let's say I chose x and plus 6 and minus 1. Then when I multiply, I get 6x, multiply, you get minus x, add it up, and you get 5x. Now when you compare that to this, if you compare, you can see clearly that one is, this one is plus and this one is minus, so that's a wrong choice, so out, right? So it's out, it's not right, so I have to remove it, clean the board and try another choice. So now I say, right, let me try something else. There's x and there's x. Let me try the next one. Minus 6 and 1. If I multiply that, I get minus 6x. If I multiply that, I get plus 1x. I must then add them up. When I add them up, I get minus 5x. And when I check there and I check here, it's exactly the same. Minus 5x, minus 5x. So what happens? The top 2 goes in one bracket, the bottom 2 goes in one bracket. Or we can say that that horizontal row goes in one bracket, this horizontal row goes in another bracket. So there's your 2, there's your 2, and the top one goes in one bracket, and the bottom x plus 1 goes in another bracket. Remember the plus is understood. So there's your final answer for 6.14. And finally we're going to do 6.15. 6.15. 6m cubed minus 48. I'll write the answer below it. When I study it carefully, I find it has a common factor, which is 6 into, divide that by 6, m cubed. Divide minus 48 by 6, minus 8. And then when you look at the second part now, if you look here, it's a difference of 2 cubes. So, cube root of that, m. Cube root of that, 2. Because that's minus, this will be minus. Then, for the second bracket, get the answers from here. There's your m squared, square m. Multiply this 2, minus 2m. Change the sign, plus 2m. And square minus 2, you get plus 4. So, those are the answers now to the mixed exercise. And remember that in this DVD, we're only doing the basics. And what we are saying is that if you understand the basics, then you will be able to handle any more problems, any more difficult